Hello, it's Andrew with the Isle of Misfit Books, coming to you with an appendix to my most recent video about Jacob Riis and the tenements and sweatshops of New York. And I'm out of the office, out of my own personal sweatshop, doing some actual sweating, doing some actual labor, getting some exercise out at Carbon's Cove, just outside of Roanoke. As I was editing that video together, and all told, it took about, I would say, 20, 30 hours to make. I'm not the fastest with the editing. I'm learning as I go. How shops and manufacturers avoided the labor laws that were in effect at the time was by employing people in sweatshops, clandestinely, under the table, cash only, that sort of thing. And that was how they could defeat child labor laws. That was how they could defeat laws about, how long a workday had to be and that sort of thing. Those laws were there, it's just in the tenements they avoided them. And they did that because the labor was unskilled and the laborers were uneducated and immigrants and pretty defenseless and, were in many instances, I'm sure, just grateful to have a job, grateful to be able to pay rent and buy food, even if that rent was exorbitant and going to the exact same person that was employing you at terrible wages in the sweatshop where you lived. Anyway, it's all in the video and I'm kind of rehashing that now. But if you're interested in seeing the actual circumstances of the tenements of the slums of New York at the turn of the 20th century, check that video out. I will link it at the end. But it occurred to me as I was editing all of this together that, I'm effectively ensconced in my own version of a sweatshop. It's much cushier, of course, and it is by choice. And like I said, I do quite enjoy it. But somehow these large social media companies owned by billionaires and making huge profits have figured out a way to skirt labor laws and have, a veritable army of people just toiling away and producing content and putting in long hours, defeating all kinds of labor laws. I feel like this is a stoned revelation. I haven't smoked weed in a few years, but that's kind of how this feels to me, like oh, dude, if you just think about it this way. and I know that this is not an original observation, but it just really struck me in that moment. I'm sure many of you will be thinking like, yeah, duh, Captain Obvious. Welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to reality, right? And I'm sure, though, on the other hand, that there will be some who think, how dare you compare this to a sweatshop, what you're doing to a sweatshop? Like, you have the option. It's so much cushier. Those people didn't have the option. And believe me, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. Like I said, I enjoy it. I find it's creative. I find it rewarding. And the conditions obviously were much, much worse for actual sweatshop workers at the turn of the 20th century and are today much, much worse in actual sweatshops that exist to produce the products like this camera that I'm recording this video on in countries, typically in third world countries, as opposed to in the United States. So I get it. First world complaint. And it's, again, not a complaint, just an observation. Because the net effect is that somehow these big companies have, again, found a way to get around labor laws, to dodge them completely and make huge profits as a result. And they've sold us all on the idea. I'm sold, I'm in, I'm here. I just find it interesting. Anyway, If you want to look at what an actual sweatshop was like back in the day, what the immigrant communities were like, definitely check out Jacob Riis's book, How the Other Half Lives. And my video gives just a quick 20-minute tour of that book, illustrated with lots of photographs that Riis took that were in the book, lots that were not. All from the collection of the Museum of the City of New York. So I think you'd find that interesting. If you found this interesting or amusing or outrageous, please click like, hit subscribe, and I hope to see you over in the other video. All right, peace. Gotta keep hiking. Catch up to you later.